Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today I have a really cool announcement about another free of cost initiative that we have started to help students. I'll be discussing more about it towards the end of this video. For now, without any further ado, let's move to our discussion on Oracle. And today Dhruv has joined us to share his experience. He worked as MTS at Oracle for almost a year and a half, I think, and now he has switched to Microsoft. He has also interned with UBS and Amazon before. So, in short, we can make a whole new channel for, I think, for just Dhruv's experience. Right. But jokes aside, welcome Dhruv, and thanks for taking out time to share your experience.
Thanks a lot, Siddharth. Yeah, you aptly gave out my introduction. So yeah, I think Siddharth has covered a lot of it, and I graduated from BITS Goa in 2020. And since then, like I did a 6 month internship at Amazon, and I worked with Oracle for 1.5 years, and I like recently switched, as Siddharth mentioned, to Microsoft a couple of weeks back only. So yeah,
Thanks a lot, Dhruv. So I think we can begin with our discussion. And as usual, our discussion would be segregated into three sections, and we'll just discuss about your experience, the general information related to roles, tech stacks, and benefits. And then we'll move on to the preparation part, and we'll also have a quick, brief discussion on your interview process.
yeah.
Right. So, and just in case anyone wants to skip to a particular section, the timestamps will be in the description. So, yeah. So, Dhruv, would you like to begin by sharing your experience as a full-time developer at Oracle?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Oracle was basically my first job out of college. So basically, it was there. There was a lot to learn, and I joined a team called. It was basically a cloud integration platform team. That like eventually, my team also came under OCI. Like that is a cloud sub team within Oracle. So, like I worked with the same team for 1.5 year, and yeah, I mean, I worked on like initial couple of months were definitely the boot camp and all the trainings, but yeah, after like 1 year and 3 months or 4 months, I worked on the same product, Oracle integration, as I mentioned, and yeah, it was a great experience overall. Like I got to work hands on many projects and many features and many customer issues that helped me to learn a lot about development, etc. So yeah, that's a brief overview of which team I worked on, and yeah, so uh, yeah, I'll come. Yeah, so the culture overall, coming to the second point, the culture overall was really good. Like especially my team, considering it was remote onboarding. I joined in 2020, and I basically never got a chance to visit the office. So it was a remote onboarding. So considering that, it's a big hurdle, I feel, but my team, they made sure that all the onboarding was done really nicely, and the introductions and ice breaking sessions were also organized. And overall, like as a company, Oracle is considered to be very like I'd say it values both work and life. So the work life balance is very good. And especially my team, like though we came under cloud, which is kind of Oracle mainly has two products. Like one is the kind of older products like database, etc., and one is the cloud, which is generally like it's a newer product. So sometimes for some teams the work life balance is sometimes it gets a bit hectic, but for my team it was very good. Like proper, like we had proper like sessions, as I mentioned, ice breaking sessions, and a lot of time was given to employee growth and all of that. So yeah, overall I'd say I had a great team, a great manager, and great culture in general I felt at Oracle.
Right. Thanks a lot, Dhruv. I mean, you covered pretty much everything about the teams and culture in quite a detail. So, just adding on to that, so what kind of tech stack did you use for your project? And like overall in Oracle, oh, if someone is joining as a fresher, what can they expect while in terms of technology stack and everything?
Right. So my experience was like most. I worked on mostly backend. My entire team worked on backend actually. Our tech stack was mainly Java. with there was a framework called Micronaut. It's very similar to Spring Boot. So I used Java with Micronaut, and that was the main, like, the code writing part was there in Java. And apart from that, on a daily basis, we use Docker, Kubernetes, etc. For deployments and all. And Git, I mean, is standard across all companies. So this was for my team. But even the friends I had in Oracle who were in different teams, they also, one thing I observed is that Java is used mostly for development, and some teams use Python as well. Though they were very rare, I mostly heard of Java only. And in front end, Oracle has some internal front end development tools that I use. So the front end, I don't have much idea about it, but back end is mostly Java. And I think the framework and all depends from team to team. But yeah, the back end part is mostly Java only.
Right. So as you said, so seem to work on back end and front end. So are there any other roles for freshers as well? Like in if someone wants to join as a data scientist or maybe an ML engineer or something, research assistant or something.
Right. So not as such. I mean, I haven't seen any role as, a data scientist as such, but there were a few teams. Like, one of my batchmate, he was allotted an AI services team. So, like, it was more of AI engineering, not a proper, like, a machine learning scientist role. It was more of AI engineering, like a combination of both. So yeah, there are a few teams, but again, like, if someone is joining as a fresher, you get a project preference and a team preference list. But at the end, it turns out to be pretty random. You can assume you'll get like any of your top five preferences, but they go through your resume. And also, as a fresher, I'd say it's you don't have much control over what team you'll get. But yeah, if you're lucky, and you'll end up the same,
Right.
the role you want. So yeah, that I actually got my second preference.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah.
Oh, what was your first preference? The AI team.
I think I chose some there was some team within OCI. I forgot the
Okay.
name, but yeah, I probably put my team as a second team, and third I put in as AI because at that time I didn't have much experience in AI, so I thought, okay, let's try out cloud first, and then
Right, right. Makes sense. Okay, so moving on to the next part, like probably the thing that everyone wants to know. So, I mean, it's difficult to list all the benefits. You must be getting a ton of it. But if you have to just talk about the one benefit that you think was the best one or like the most useful one, so which one will be that?
Okay. So actually, as I mentioned, I had a remote onboarding. So basically, I didn't get a chance to visit office. Though I've heard that they have, especially in Bangalore, like my seniors, at least they told me once I got the offer that Bangalore office is really good. Like they have developed a new tech hub, the entire tech hub, and like it has a lot of facilities. So I didn't get a chance to visit office though. But
Right,
yeah, so like most of like there were a lot of COVID specific and like work from home specific benefits that I liked. There was basically the standard, like I think it's across all companies nowadays in tech industry, that the equipment setup, the monitor and keyboard, etc. And apart from that, we also given some extra benefits for setting up a home gym kind of thing, considering that it was a lockdown and we couldn't
right,
visit outside. So some benefits were there related to that as well. And my team also had some extra like COVID specific leaves, the normal well-being leaves, etc.
right,
So yeah, I mean, I didn't get to experience the in-person, the in-office benefits, but yeah, the COVID specific and the work from home specific benefits were really good. Not sure how long they'll continue, but yeah, at least the work from home specific, I think it was good overall.
right. Sure. So I think that pretty much sums up about the experience part. I think we can move on to the next part of the discussion. So, as you mentioned that you joined Oracle right when you graduated from college, so I am assuming that it was an on-campus placement.
Yeah.
So, were there any GPA constraints when Oracle visited your campus?
Yeah, so as firstly, I'll try to give a disclaimer here. Like I discussed it with Siddharth as well. So my interview was in mid 2019, so it was approx
Right,
2.5 years back. So I may not, remember all the things in detail, but yeah, I'll try to share whatever I remember. So yeah. GPA, I remember it was we had a 7 GPA cutoff for application. Like when it came to a college, so everyone who was above 7 was allowed to sit for the online test. Yeah.
so, moving on to the next part, is there any specific requirements for the resume or any pro tips on how to prepare a resume for Oracle.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, I'm not sure about the resume shortlisting part, because for our on-campus interviews, we didn't have any resume shortlisting as such. We just had the CG cutoff, as I mentioned, and then we had an online test. And after that, like, basically, so what I observed was that in all my interviews, the resume was discussed in all of them, and it was discussed for at least 10-15 minutes. Like, a proper deep dive was done in one of the rounds, so it was around half an hour, and the other two, I had four rounds in total. I'll come to that later. But they discuss a lot about your projects and what all you have written. So make sure that what all you have written on your resume, right, that you know about that in depth. So because it might happen that one of the interviewer knows, like, let's say you have a product project in Java in Spring, you have developed something, and the interviewer also knows about Spring in detail because he has also worked it. So there might be a chance that he'll grill you on that particular project. He might not go over your other projects, but if he finds something that he's also interested in, he might grill you on that project. That actually happened with me. Like, one of the interviewer discussed one of my college projects with me, and we discussed it for like 10-15 minutes. So yeah, this is one tip I give, that make your resume in such a way that you know everything that you're writing.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's most important thing, that never mention a project that you haven't actually worked on.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And for the preparation part of it, so like, is it just DSA, or a student needs to focus on other core subjects also, like networks or OS or DBMS?
Right, right. Yeah, so during my on-campus, on-campus preparation, what like I didn't specifically prepare for Oracle or anything, but I did a general preparation for all the companies. So, like, for my on-campus, I did, like, at that time I did interview bit for like a month and a half, like the summer break I had. I also had my internship, so I had to coordinate between the two of them. So I did interview bit mostly. Like, I'd say interview bit was my DSA guide. And for other CS fundamentals, like OOP and DBMS, I read, and networks actually, I don't think they asked that much. I mainly read through OS, OOPs and DBMS a lot from
Right,
Geeks for Geeks. Not a lot actually, just I think a few days before the actual interview started, because all the interviews have a DSA a coding test kind of round before that. So I majorly focused on DSA at that time.
right.
And yeah, I just read through briefly over my over the Geeks for Geeks notes that are there. I think they're still there, but yeah, that is actually a very useful resource.
Yeah, yeah. Even I did it the same way. So since I had an internship, I couldn't concentrate much. So I did a little bit DSA on the side with internship, and just a few days before, I went through those cheat sheets on Geeks for Geeks.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and it's mostly the same thing. Like, oops, you know what they're going to ask. OS concurrency
Yeah,
and
yeah,
deadlock and all
yeah, yeah,
those.
yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
right. So yeah, that was really great. Thanks, Dhruv. So I think we can, since you've already given the disclaimer that it has been almost two
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
half years.
yeah.
So if briefly you can just give an overview of your interview process.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So as I mentioned, like, Oracle came to our campus and it came with a 7 CGPA cutoff. So like, all those who were above 7 were eligible to sit for the online test. The online test, if I remember correctly, it had both a coding and MCQs. Like, there were a few MCQs related to logical as well as CS fundamentals.
Right.
So the standard coding, like the DSA question that are there, as well as there were a few MCQs. I think 10 each. I'm not sure about the number, but there were some MCQs on networks OS, like standard CS fundamentals, and 10 logical reasoning aptitude kind of questions were there. So that was the, and generally, like, what happened in my case, like in my college, was that they almost, like, it wasn't a big filter. Like, many companies, what they do is they filter out a lot in their online test. Like, I
Okay.
think Uber does it. Uber did it in our time, but Oracle, what they did was they actually, I think they filtered only 50% or 60% of the people. They actually eliminated only 50% of the people from the online test. So it wasn't a very hard filter, I'd say. So even if
Okay.
you performed decent in that test, you went through to the interviews. Um, and yeah, so once this was cleared, then basically I had, yeah, for my in-person rounds, I had total 4 rounds. So three were technical, and the fourth one was completely HR. Like, the HR representative took that round. So the first round, if I remember correctly, it was mostly DSA. Like I think it was a binary search kind of question that was a standard question that we'll find on interview with lead code, etc. So that I was able to solve like pretty quickly, and after that we discussed, like as I mentioned, about my resume. So like 10-15 minutes. I think within half an hour I solved that question, and 10-15 minutes we discussed my resume. So first round was just DSA and resume. Second round was not DSA, like it was purely so within my resume I had written C++, that I use C++ for coding, and even the interviewer asked me for my preference of language, so I gave him C++. So that round was like 10-15 minutes resume, and the other half an hour was only discussion about C++ OOP. Like
Okay.
it was purely an OOP round, not a OOP design round, because they don't expect freshers to like do well in design. But it was more of I'd say theoretical and certain, conceptual based. It was more of a conceptual based round, like the standard, like encapsulation, for example, what is the
Right.
difference between all of that terms that are there. And also he went deep into C++ OOP actually. And there's a concept of friend functions, I remember, and he asked me that as well. So it was more of it mostly a C++ theoretical loop round along with resume, so it wasn't DSA here. And yeah, this was actually in this round, quite a few folks were eliminated because they didn't have any particular language experience in OOPS, even theoretical wise. So yeah, this round was actually, I'd say it was an important round that way. And once this round was cleared, the third round was DSA, and like I think he asked a merge sort related question, not exactly merge sort, but some variation to merge sort was there, I remember.
Right.
And apart from that, he asked me a couple of puzzles. Like I think now Interview Bit as well has some puzzle section, so they were fairly standard puzzles. So like it was DSA and puzzles. So that round was completely kind of algorithmic. And yeah, so these three were the technical rounds, and the fourth. So basically, once so all those who cleared this third round were actually given an offer. So the fourth round was just kind of a formality, that way, that the HR round, they explain
Right. Right.
the offer structure and all. And so the fourth round was very, like, it was a 15-minute round, and the HR representative just discussed, about the standard HR questions, like your strengths, weaknesses, and why Oracle and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was my in-person interview process.
Right. Yeah, I think the disclaimer wasn't required. This was really detailed and clear.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, thanks a lot, Dhruv. I mean, this is all from my side. If I left anything, would you like to like add something?
No, I think, yeah, you also pretty much covered everything. I'd say, as I said, apart from your normal preparation, it also is very important that you actually go through your resume. This is one tip I'll give, especially for my experience. That, and like let's say you've written some language on your resume, you should at least know the basic. Like OOP terms and the basic, features of that particular language. For example, C++, as I mentioned. So you should be comfortable with those data structures, and even the OOP part as well. So let's say you can choose Java or Python as well, but I was almost comfortable with C++, so I chose that. So yeah, apart from the standard preparation, I say it's also important to know what is written on your resume.
Right, right. That's very important because you never know when you can get grilled on your
Right,
resume.
exactly.
So that pretty much sums up our discussion on Oracle today. But before ending this video, I'd like to introduce our initiative named Unicorn University Connect. So basically, this platform is majorly for college and school students to connect, network, and collaborate with seniors and other students. It is a completely anonymous platform. All the people who have shared their experience on this channel are also available on Unicorn and actively reply to all the questions and queries. We also host live Q&A sessions on the app. So it's a great platform to get all your queries answered, and these queries can be related to anything: research, placement, college life, or anything. So plus, if you register with your official email ID, you get access to a closed channel for your specific school or university, and you can connect with the community from your college itself. So if you are also finding it difficult to network, just download Unicorn and interact with an entire community of students. Link is available in the description. Just use that link to download the app. And it's completely anonymous and free of cost, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it helpful. So that was pretty much about the announcement. And that's all from my side. Stay safe, guys. Keep learning. Bye.